It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
greenhome.com, amazon.com, or call 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild. By the way, I got my soap. My soap came, and we did. We used it for some laundry so far, and I'm not sure. I think it's still in the wash, the batch I used finally. Yeah, because I cut it open this morning. But I did use some of the soap flakes too to wash the counter, and it does feel, it feels like non-chemical, that's for sure. It feels nice and clean, and I love the smell of this stuff. Okay, let's get to work. You guys been waiting for a show. Got a lot going on. I'm kind of exhausted, man. Oh, Victoria went to the Tournament of Champions this morning. She flew down to Kentucky to participate in his big debate event down there. So I had to drive her down to the airport this morning. I had to get up at 3:30 in the morning to drive her down there, which normally I'm up at 3 o'clock anyway, so it's not a big deal. But I got these guys in town. I got these guys showed up from California here, and they're in town here, and these Hollywood types. And what they're doing is they're filming me for a documentary TV series. We're doing a sizzle reel, but we filmed so much content that now they think they have enough for a pilot. So they're all excited about this, but, it's a lot of work, man. Let me tell you, it's a lot of work, man. Last night they had me here way past my bedtime telling all my old stories. And then we had to go down today and film a local client that I had to go meet with and film with. A very tragic story that we'll be getting into that in the future. But it was just a heartbreaking situation. Brutal. The whole day was brutal, to tell you the truth. And now I got to go back out after this tonight and perform for them like a trained monkey in a circus. They're going to be throwing peanuts at me on the Las Vegas Fremont Street experience. So if you're in town and you want to head down to Fremont Street, I'm going to be down there filming tonight. You can, I don't know what I'm going to be doing, walking around, standing around doing things. Okay. Oh, I got something else coming up too. Let me tell you about this. The Las Vegas Film Festival on 5/4. What is that? May 4th? May 4th, they're going to be screening the film Knock Down the House with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Amy Villela, who is a friend of our show here. They filmed, this documentary film crew that produced this documentary came down to Amy Villella's campaign headquarters down here where my daughter was interning. So, and they filmed down there, and they also filmed Ocasio-Cortez and the Bronx over there, and a couple of other female, I think, women politicians were running for office for the first time, and that new wave of progressive socialists who came into office. So a lot of my friends participated in this. So I'm going to be down. I got press passes. I'm going to be down as part of the press. So I'll also have access to doing interviews with the people involved, and not just that film too. There's another one too about the Sandinistas that I'm going to do. There's another film, too, about the Satanism, these Satan worshipers, and the Church of Satan. I guess I could, I don't know if I want to interview them. That's the only thing, but I guess I could go down there and watch the film and then work out I can always not. Hey, Mark Ebner's in Vegas? Oh, no, Mark Ebner's not. Oh, Mark Ebner's in Vegas? Oh, and he didn't call me to hang out, that bum? Okay, that's how you want to be, Mark? Okay, I'll track him down. I'll find you, Mark. I'll find you, and I'll humiliate you in public. How's that, Mr. Ebner? Hey. Okay. put a stop to this. Okay, let's see. What do I want to start with? Okay, I think I want to start with Julian Assange. Okay, I got a lot of notes here, a lot of stuff, and I hope I can put it all together because I'm really exhausted. Got a lot of notes. Let's see here. Oh, okay, Julian Assange. Now, there's a new documentary came out, and I'm trying to book the reporter who was behind this thing. It's called Sex Lies and Julian Assange. And basically, it dissects the criminal charges, the sexual criminal charges against Julian Assange, and it comes to the conclusion that it's a complete setup. Okay? Very well-made documentary, very convincing, and I have no problem with that. I never said that, and I even said, as a matter of fact, that I feel that those charges were a setup. The average person wouldn't be charged with that crime. But Julian Assange is a public figure. He's an irritant to the system. He's causing a lot of problems. And he has a bullseye on his back. I never argued with any of that. My problem is with Julian Assange is his reporting. And I did a whole show about this a couple of weeks back about how Julian Assange was outed for being deceptive to his audience. And we saw direct messages that he had sent on Twitter to Donald Trump Jr., saying, hey, leak your tax returns to me, and anything negative about yourself you want leaked out to the press, leak it to me, and it'll make me look impartial, like I'm not in your pocket. And so I, spent some time on this. I researched it. I gave him my reporting here. But you know me. I'm like Mr. Magoo. Okay? Just stumbling around here, I fumble about. I turn on my microphone and these buttons here, and I'm touching things. And I don't quite what I'm doing. I'm just kind of stumbling around like a bumbling idiot. And what happened was I just happened to be stepping off the fire escape, right? And I was just about to fall to my death when one of my listeners, one of my loyal, dedicated listeners, came along. He just happened to be elevating a piano, a big baby grand piano on one of those big ropes and pulleys, and it just happened to be right next to the what's that thing? The fire escape there. And so instead of falling to my death and my demise, I stepped onto the piano, and then he lowered me a couple of feet, and I landed on another fire escape there, the next door. Right? Because he had to straighten me out, and he had to explain to me that I didn't know what I was talking about when it comes to Julian Assange. Okay, because I'm just a bumbling idiot. I'm Mr. Magoo, right? Ho, 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 ho. I should have did a Mr. Magoo impression. I should have studied up. I don't remember what Mr. Magoo sounds like. I should have put a little effort into this portion of the show, but unfortunately, I did not. Okay, so and what's insult to injury, the person who was advising me and correcting me here with his piano didn't even listen to the show. He just read the title, and he had to chime in and to educate me. Okay, and my notes here, I'm gonna cut out this portion of my notes of because I could tell I was very, very in an angry mood when I wrote this portion. I'm gonna leave it out. Okay, I'm gonna leave it out. But let's just say this: what we have here with Mr. Assange, okay, is not a one-time deception of his audience. What we have here is a pattern of deception. Because what's come out in the Mueller report is that Mr. Assange totally made up his whole position regarding Seth Rich. When he came out and he made those cryptic messages about maybe the DNC emails and the DNC hack came from an inside source. And Seth Rich, I am offering a $20,000 reward on behalf of Seth Rich. Well, it comes out in the Mueller report. They have all the times and the dates and everything, and they're all locked up. That Mr. Assange knew he was being deceptive when he tried to allude that it was an inside job and that it was done by Seth Rich. Seth Rich was a DNC volunteer employee that was murdered on the streets of D.C. And this big conspiracy theory grew up around it about how Seth Rich had to be murdered by the Clintons because they caught him hacking the DNC. And Julian Assange came out and he said that one guy even said, one guy, this nut out there, said that it was the Awan brothers who were the hitman who killed Seth Rich. You know, he's deleted that video because he puts up videos all the time and deletes them. But anyway, so we have here from Mr. Assange a pattern of deception here now because he totally lied about Seth Rich. Now, I have a little involvement in this because I knew about this quite some time ago, and I tell you, I like to tell you about my personal involvement in these things because many of the things I try and tell you on here is not my opinion. It's not something I watched on YouTube or these things. Because I personally insert myself into these things and I investigate and I look into it for you because I love my audience, my supportive audience. Okay, we sent out a nice little MailChimp out there. We didn't get that much great response, guys, okay? We desperately need memberships to keep this going here. You don't know how things are here. We're about $5,000 short for Victoria's tuition to get her into this school. And we have to make the decision on Monday, May 1st. Not Monday, but on May 1st, we have to make this decision. I got to give them $850, okay, which I'm coming out of loans I'm taking. So about $5,000 short. So I really need memberships, guys, to get this kid into school. And what I'm going to be doing is, when she moves to D.C., the plan was I was going to move with her, but I can't afford that now. So my poor little girl, I'm going to be separated from my daughter, that I love so much. We're so close. We're both. And when we were driving to the airport today, I started thinking, boy, the next time we're driving to the airport, I'm going to be taking you to go to D.C. We're going to not be living together anymore. I started crying in the car. This morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. And then I had to rush home and get peanuts thrown at me by these filmmakers as their circus chimp. But what I'm going to be doing is when she does move out of here, I'm going to be downsizing to like a studio apartment. I'm even considering like getting a van, and living in a van. Okay? To save money to be able to pay for this tuition. So if you can help us out here, guys, just with some memberships, I'm working my tail off for you, guys. I got 7 hours of content this week I recorded while filming a documentary, and while taking your calls and your emails and trying to entertain everybody and keep everybody happy. So, we sent out a MailChimp asking for support and asking for membership, so I would really appreciate it if we get some response to that. But back to all this stuff here with the Julian Assange and his pattern of deception and his thing with Seth Rich. Now, let me tell you my little bit of involvement with all this, right? There's a gentleman named Nico House. You might know him. I had him on the show many times. And I even... so I found Nico House. He had done a YouTube video talking about improprieties in the Bernie campaign, that the Clinton campaign had inserted their own people into the Bernie campaign, their own trolls, their own moles, right? You call them. And I had suspected this was going on here in Vegas, But I found out, through Nico House, he had done some really good work on this, and he had a YouTube channel. So I contacted Nico. I'm the first guy to ever interview him, okay? I brought him on my show and did an interview with him. Other people saw it. They started interviewing him. I like the kid's talent. He's a good guy, smart man, very good, talented guy. I said, and I helped him I put him on Awake Radio, and I put him on my other stations as well, to carry my show. I produced for him. I produced for him live, by the way, too. That's how much I wanted this young man to take off. And then I got him a gig over at American Freedom Radio, okay, which was a lateral move, okay. I couldn't devote the time, but instead of just abandoning him, I got him a lateral move over to American Freedom Radio, which has a very significant audience. And Nico House took that basis. He's a hardworking guy, talented man, and he got a job working for Jared and Elizabeth Beck, these attorneys down in Miami, Florida. I think Nico's a paralegal as well. And as well as myself, I'm a paralegal. And Jared and Elizabeth Beck were the folks behind the DNC lawsuit. And it was Nico House who helped them inspire that idea that they could sue the DNC. Okay? Now, since then, okay, I have my problems with Jared and Elizabeth Beck. I don't trust them whatsoever. I had Elizabeth on the show. It was a very awkward interview. She was very defensive. I was bending over backwards trying to help this woman. And then, because I was supportive of their work. But just erratic interview. And then these two have become very bizarre, in their activities and their behavior. And I even talked to her because what happened was they had a process server. They hired this young man to be a process server for them. And he was a DJ. His name was Sean Lucas, right? And he was a local DJ, and I think it was D.C. or Florida. I forget where it was, where he had to serve these papers. And after serving these papers, and he videotaped it, then he was the DNC was questioning the service, and the young man turned up dead in his apartment. Okay, so I was contacted by a friend of his, and then he told me he was very suspicious about this death. I started looking into this. Okay, with the people involved. You understand? Not from watching YouTube. Okay, not nonsense. Really looking into this, speaking to people involved, friends, family, people like that. I came to the conclusion, especially after some time, that there was no foul play, especially after the autopsy came out. And there was, one of the people I spoke to, I said, was he a drug user? Well, recreational drugs was nothing very serious. Okay, fine. No, we're not to disparage the dead. He's a fine young man who was loved by all his friends and family. There's no doubt about that. But there was really nothing overtly suspicious about his death. Although, even after this was known, Elizabeth Beck came on my show and tried to allude that there was something suspicious about it. She even put in her paperwork that she needed a U.S. Marshal protection because of the death of this young man. It was very bizarre stuff was put into her lawsuit that anybody who's familiar with these kind of suits would just say that this is frivolous, this is ridiculous, this is foolishness. So, on that basis, I began, and I says, well, no, if this is this popular meme out there about the death of Sean Lucas is totally inaccurate, let me really dig in and look into this Seth Rich case. And once again, I contacted all the people involved, okay? And when I tell you that I contacted all the people involved, it came to the point where I was actually invited into certain conversations, included in certain conference calls, with the people allegedly investigating the death of Seth Rich. The people out there that you see all the time yammering about this stuff, okay? And in the conversation, well, what do you got? Well, we've got nothing. There's nothing, okay? But yet they got the awards and all this stuff going on, and all this rumor and gossip. Well, what have you dug up on this to show that there's something suspicious here? Nothing. What do you have that connects it to the Clintons? Nothing. What do you have that connects him to hacking to the DNA? Nothing. There's nothing? Well, then what are we doing here? Okay, and I talked about this. I've hinted about this. I got snookered into this deal to buy my silence in a certain way. But now, listen, what? It's in Mueller report. I'm not bound by any secrecy here. A pattern of deception from Mr. Assange toward his listeners and his followers. Okay? A pattern of deception. Now, this particularly irks me, the way that Julian Assange threw this kid, Seth Rich, and his family under the bus in order to protect himself. And I'm going to tell you why. I had a situation once. This wasn't too long ago. I was involved in one of these true crime message boards with people who debated, I forget what case it was, Lacey Peterson or whatever, or John Benet Ramsey, one of these cases, and there's such drama because they're all housewives on there, lonely people, pathetic people like myself. But they knew I was a private investigator, and there was another private investigator in this group as well. Okay, I had no problem with him, but he had some kind of problem with me. I don't know what it was, but for some reason he had this attitude around me. Okay, in this little chat, because we also would have chat rooms and message board commentary, right? So there was an incident where there was another regular poster and commentator in this got into some cyber sex with some of the women, and he was bothering some of the women, but some of the women were going along with this and then cyber sexing with this gentleman here, exchanging nude photos back and forth. And some of these women came to me and they says, hey, Ed, we need you to investigate this man and find out if what he says about himself is true. Is he really employed at the place he says he's employed at? Can you look at, does he really live at the address? Is this really his education? Can you check this out for us? And I said, yeah, sure, I'll check it out for you. Because, I don't like to do free work with people. But, there was a situation where I knew everybody involved. I wanted to maintain the peace. So I stuck my neck out and I looked into this guy's background. And what I found was that most of the things he was saying about himself were perfectly true. Okay? But I was always suspicious. I said, well, you know what? These guys This other PI is all up their asses, man, all the time. It's been, they even all met in person at some kind of event. They met someplace in person. It might have been Vegas, as a matter of fact. This might have been before I lived in Vegas. They all met together, and it was kind of funny because all the women were wearing like these ball gowns, like prom dresses, and this guy's wearing like a white T-shirt at this bar they're all hanging out at, big fat belly hanging over his belt. Disgusting. Okay, bald-headed, fat PI. Unlike myself, handsome, trim, bearded. Okay, I'm doing 36 push-ups. By the way, I'm up to 36 push-ups. A week ago, I couldn't even do one push-up. Not a week. I say about 2-3 weeks ago, I couldn't even do one push-up, man. Because with the hernia, I got I couldn't do push-ups or sit-ups for like a couple of years. So I was really, man, struggling with that kind of stuff. But now, man, I got this hernia operation. I'm back. I'm doing sit-ups, man, incline sit-ups. Not like that other fat PI. But I found out what happened is the reason why, just like Mr. Julian Assange, the reason why these characters wanted me to do an investigation into this guy and get my name on the record and have emails of me sending them a report and all this kind of stuff was because this other PI had done an investigation. But what he had done was he had run some unlawful credit reports on the subject in the investigation. And he didn't even do it the smart way, okay? There's a way to run credit reports on people that private investigators know about. Savvy people know how to do. They're called ghost reports. You can run a ghost credit report on somebody. It's unlawful, but the person you run the report on can't see that you ran a report on him. But this character, he did it the sloppy way, he did it the lazy way, he did it the amateurish way. We had a friend who worked at a mortgage company. He gave him $35, and they filled up some other guy's name, okay, on the paperwork, and ran a credit report on him unlawfully without the person's approval and signature. But that report gets dinged on the guy's credit report. So if he had that kind of credit monitoring system, he would know about it. Or if he ever got a copy of his credit report, he would see that someone ran this report on. Why am I getting a call from the city of Henderson at 7:30 at night? That could be a jail or something. Give me a call there. I might have to take this call. Let me play a commercial break. We'll be right back. And now a word from our sponsors. Check out CartKing.com, 877-986-7771. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services, like let's say you own an office building or a warehouse. Put one of these carts there in the lobby. Well, CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail coffee and food carts and kiosks money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. From large, heated, and secure outdoor retail or food kiosks to smaller, more mobile coffee kiosks or coffee stations, coffee carts, CartKing.com designs and builds them all. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on the website, CartKing.com. Please visit today at CartKing.com or just call them at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you and you get a good deal. Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com and get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You also do all the kind of different services for you. Online dating service investigations called an online infidelity investigation. And that's where you give us your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend's email address, and we trace it back to their online dating websites, and we return a list of all the dating sites that email is registered to. We can expand on that investigation and trace it back to porn sites, escort service sites, swinger sites, gambling websites, and even prescription drug websites, and all kinds of digital forensics, computer and cell phone digital forensics, where we can recover deleted content from an email or a hard drive and produce a report for you that you can use in court. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can contact me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. Almightygold.com. Would you like to start investing in gold? But you can't afford to buy a whole ounce of gold, or certainly can't buy a bar of gold. With almightygold.com, you can invest in gold in these carat bars as little as of a tenth of a gram of gold. So you can start investing tonight for as little as $6, $8. You can put your money in a product that's going to increase in value, not to be wasted on the trivial things we spend our money on every day. You can buy these carrot bars. They're embedded into a credit card-sized plastic card. There's a watermark on it. There's a security strip on it, and it's all authenticated. You don't want to have most sent at once. You can have them stored in their global savings vault for secure and safekeeping. They ship it to you when it reaches $1,000. When you have $1,000 in savings and you put it aside for a rainy day, for an emergency, you can barter with these little, guaranteed amounts of gold here in this little card. They also have a cryptocurrency that's backed by gold. And if you want to get into the gold business, become an affiliate of almightygold.com, contact us at almightygold.com. That's their email address. Contact us at almightygold.com, and they can put you in the gold business. Gold. Okay. Let me see here. Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. Yeah, that was a call from the City of Henderson Police Department. Okay, it was one of those recorded messages that they send out, like an Amber Alert type message. And it turns out it's this little missing little 8-year-old boy. And this is one of the kids in my little apartment complex here. So as soon as the show's over, I got to run down to Fremont Street tonight because we're doing more filming. But I will drive around and take a look for this kid. Oh, boy, it reminds me of that time we were looking for that kid at Sunset Park, man. And I forget his name. Little 3-4-year-old boy. And me and I rounded up some people on Facebook. We went down there looking for him. And then we heard on the police, because when the cops walking by, and we heard on the radio that they were searching down at Lake Mead. They thought the body was down there. So we knew the kid was dead. But for some reason, we just kept looking for him. And just said, like, in the hope, you know. Anyway, I can't go through that again. I don't want to think about that. That was really a traumatic situation. Gadzooks. Okay. So anyway, my problem is just like Julian Assange threw this kid, Seth Rich, and his family under the bus there to protect himself. This prick PI up there in Utah is where this guy was located. Real prick. Tried to cover up for himself, for his misdeeds and his unlawful activity by having me do an investigation. And then if the guy made a complaint, it was, Ed Opperman did that investigation, not me. Look, here's his report. He sent it to us. He must have run those credit reports. So, which is a really sleazy thing to do, man. Come on. Who behaves that way? You act like an adult. And Assange too, man. Why would you? You're going to stoop that low, man. Disgusting. So Seth Rich's brother put out a statement on that. Anyway, so again, let's see here. Okay, new headline, new topic. But it. So again, I have on the show Johnny Russo. Okay, Johnny Russo was the Carlo on The Godfather. Okay, I enjoyed this interview very much. This is my kind of guy. This is a guy who lives by his own rules, and I like those kind of people, unless when you butt heads with somebody like that, because I'm kind of a guy that lives by my own rules too, So if he's living by his rules and I'm living by my rules, it may not work out all the time. The rules may one day conflict, and then you got a problem. But for the most part, what do you call it? I like them, and I like the show. But again, me, just little Mr. Magoo stumbling along, and I was bumping into my microphone and walking into things and bumping my head on things. And what happened was I was going off that fire escape again. But luckily, some window washers were coming by to wash the windows, and they were pulling themselves up on their pulleys there. And I stepped out onto the window washer platform, and then they led me down to the next level here, and I walked into the apartment. The window next door was woman was cooking breakfast. Mr. Magoo stumbling around again. But one of my faithful listeners contacted me and says, "Hey, Ed, don't you know that Gianni Russo has all this information about the Marilyn Monroe and JFK and all these? He's been on all these different shows, and they're asking him all these topics. And you're asking him about a movie called Winter Kills, and he didn't even want to talk about it? Don't you know how to interview people at Opperman, Magoo? Don't you know what you're doing over there? You silly goose. You silly Magoo. Yes, I do, as a matter of fact. And I'm very well aware that Johnny Russo was doing many, many interviews all over the place and repeating the same stories all over the place. If you notice, that didn't happen on my show. We got some new information out of him. And the reason why I asked about Winter Kills is for a very specific reason. And which it's a very fascinating movie, by the way, with who's that guy? Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges is a star, but everyone's in this thing, man. John Huston is in this. Eli Wallach, Elizabeth Taylor, all kinds of great actors, all character actors. Like every scene is a masterpiece in this movie. But it was pretty much silenced because it's about a JFK assassination story. It even has Colonel Walker, General Walker, a character there based on General Walker. You know, really fascinating movie. You got to catch this thing. You can find it. I think it's on YouTube, or you can find it online for free, I'm sure. But the movie was suppressed when it came out. It was killed. Winter Killed was killed. And Gianni Russo happened to be in this movie, and I wanted to get the backstory of what was going on because I know a little bit about the backstory that goes on in this movie because it just so happens that the producer of this movie were a couple of marijuana dealers. Okay? And there's a documentary about this called Who Killed Winter Kills that you could find online. And very fascinating stuff. They allude to people showing up with bags of cash on the set and stuff like that. These are never before. Oh, no, the guys had produced some softcore porn before taking on this project. And they pulled off a masterpiece. Okay, and then one of the guys, one of the producers wound up dead, and the other one wound up in prison with their marijuana dealing problems. Fascinating story. And the movie that was silenced. And I wanted to ask Gianni Russo about how he landed a part in that movie, and he kind of brushed it off. He didn't want to talk about it. If you notice, there's a few things he didn't want to talk about. Go back and listen to the show and listen to the parts about the things he didn't want to talk about. Those are the good parts, guys. Okay? I may be Mr. Magoo, and I may be stumbling around. I got to do my Magoo impersonation. I'm going to listen to some Magoo, and we'll do it next week. Now, one of the fascinating things about the movie Winter Kills is Anthony Perkins plays this character who is the fixer, the operator of the fortune of the JFK, the Kennedy family fortune. They don't use the name Kennedy. They use a different name. Okay? Kensington or something like that. Kenworth. And he's in charge of this fortune. And there's a scene where he's in his giant warehouse warehouse with file cabinets everywhere. And they talk about how they have credit reports on everybody in the whole country. So they were alluding to the credit bureaus. TRW, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, the three major credit reporting agencies, right? And what's very fascinating, okay, people talk about how in China they want to rate people's social behavior and they're going to have, but it's just the way here in America how we have your credit score and your FICO score based on your financial behavior, okay? And not just your financial behavior, too. If you move around too much, you change your addresses too much, it lowers your credit score and your FICO score. Okay, even having a P.O. box as your address on there will lower your FICO score. Too many credit inquiries will lower your credit score. Okay, right? And we say, well, in China, they have no freedom because they have the social behavior score run by the government. But did you know that at least TRW, it's been proven, has a connection to the CIA and the NRO, the National Reconnaissance Agency, and the Central Intelligence Agency? TRW. And TRW also has a division of satellites where they do satellites and secure transmissions, classified communications center. How do you like that? Now, if you go and Google this, hey, is TRW connected to the CIA and the NRO? You're not going to find anything. Or even all these fancy YouTubers out there. You won't find it on YouTube even. You know? You won't even find that information on a YouTube channel by a guy who claims that he's former NSA and former CIA and former XYZ and all these things, man. Even he won't talk about this. You won't find this anywhere because I stumbled on it. Okay. By the way, I'm not even a YouTuber anymore. I'm not even in the world of the YouTube any longer. I've been demonetized on YouTube. I no longer update my YouTube channel. I am free at last. Free at last. Thank God I am free of YouTube. I had a dream. I had a dream. But I did have a dream last night. Last night I had a dream that I was eating a giant marshmallow. And when I woke up, my pillow was gone. I heard that joke's from Maury Amsterdam from, what do you call it? I heard that joke when I was like 5 years old. I tell it all the time. I love that joke. I had a dream I was eating a giant marshmallow. And when I woke up, my pillow was gone. Maury Amsterdam from the Dick Van Dyke Show. I met him in person, by the way, too. I met him down at Pier 66 in Fort Lauderdale. This really fancy hotel I was staying at down there. And they got these piers where this big $100,000 yachts, man, $1 million yachts down there, huge yachts. And I remember being down, and I was a wealthy guy at the time. And I seen these big, I says, how can there be so many millionaires to own these giant yachts? Found out later that these yachts were connected to Ollie North and the Bushes and stuff like that. And they were involved in all kinds of drug smuggling, all kinds of things like that as well. But back to the story here, folks. Because you know me, Mr. Magoo, I stumble around. I don't know quite what I'm doing, what I'm talking about all the time. I kind of bump my head and trip myself all over the place. But somehow seem to make it through with the help of the listeners who like to tune me in here and straighten me out all the time. I can't thank you enough for that. And I'm going to tell you how I stumbled and bumbled my way into finding out about how TRW was connected to the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency. And how I found that out was I interviewed Mr. Boyce. What's his name there? Boyce from The Falcon and the Snowman. Great movie with Sean Penn. And I forget who the other kid is, but he's a good kid. Great actors in this movie. Excellent film. The Falcon and the Snowman, about these two young men. One was a drug dealer, and one worked for the TRW in their black vault, their classified communication center, with a top security clearance, where he worked with the National Reconnaissance Office and the CIA. He was getting cables misdirected from the CIA. Now, what the hell? What? Why does TRW have satellites and communication security? And why are they connected with the NRO and the CIA? Why isn't this anywhere? Why can't you hear this anywhere? Except that it's spilled out in the criminal case against Mr. Boyce there, the Falcon. Had his wife on the show here, too, on our show. That's how I found out about this. I was researching this, and I said, what the hell is this? TRW is connected to the CIA? You ever wonder, man, here you got the three major credit reporting agencies: TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, right? I think that's the name of the three ones right now, because it's the same three ones. Every now and then they change their names from TRW and Experian. They're changing their names, but it's the same three ones. Now, how do I know so much about this? Is because I was in the exact same business as they are, okay? A credit reporting agency, okay? When I went into the business to do, when we got that contract with UPS to do their pre-employment background screening, to do their pre-employment background checks, the category of business that is called is a credit reporting agency. Sometimes it's called a consumer reporting agency, CRA it's called. And I had to learn all the laws and regulations regarding being a CRA. And even though we were just a little three-man operation, that ultimately the most employees we had in that operation were like 7 employees at the maximum over there in Colorado. But we had to follow all the same rules as these three major credit reporting. And as a matter of fact, we had to follow more rules than them, because the three major credit reporting agencies are allowed to compile data and resell that data. But even though I had to follow the same regulations that they had to follow, which is a phone book-sized book of regulations, I read the whole damn thing. I actually taught a class on this for a period. What do you call it? But I wasn't allowed to compile credit reporting information and resell that information. I could only buy their information from them and resell it to the public. So even though I had to, and by the way too, I had to more regulations against me, because if the consumer came back to me, because if you deny someone employment due to something on their credit report, You have to send them a letter telling them exactly why. It has to come from my company. It can't come from TRW. It has to come from me. Now, I send them that letter. And now if they come back to me and say, oh, no, Mr. CRA and Opperman, Magoo, your information is incorrect. I'm going to send you all this proof and show you that you have to correct it. Now, it's up to now. I got a little transaction, okay? Then no kidding around. I'm making like $30 on, okay? It was a big contract. It was like a $500,000 a year contract. We're doing like 8,000 of these reports a year. But the thing is, we had one guy, comes back and starts fighting with you. It's a whole big, you're spending hours and hours and hours correcting this guy's, verifying his information, investigating it. And you're on the hook for all this, because now if you don't correct this and you can't get TRW to correct it, you're in the middle of these two guys. Now you're on the hook for the lawsuit. And that's what puts people, the little guys, out of this business all the time. The insurance is insane. In my situation, we lost that contract. Because the way we got the contract is because my partner had a friend who worked at UPS who gave out that contract. Okay? And that's how we got the contract, because we had a friend on the inside. Okay? And it was a very lucrative contract for us. And what happened was my friend started having an affair with the man's wife. Okay? So obviously the man didn't like his wife sleeping with my partner, so he cut off our contract. We did not renew our contract, and we lost our contract. Now, to make matters even more Magoo-like, okay, in my Mr. Magoo fashion, as time goes, now I'm like practically unemployed. I got to go into this crazy email tracing and digital forensics business and try and keep myself afloat after, I poured my whole heart and soul into this employment background screening. We still did a few, but this is our big giant contract, $500,000 a year. What do you call it? Make insult to injury, my partner and this man's wife and this man all become friends. Okay, even though this man's wife left him for my partner, and they were living together now, and they became such good friends actually that when he was having some work done on his house, he actually moved in with them for a period of time. The three of them lived under one roof. Okay, but I still lost the contract. I didn't sleep with anybody. I didn't cheat on anybody. I did nothing to anybody. But I'm out in the cold here and I have to earn my living now, one email address at a time. Okay, tracing email. That was my big idea. Well, I'll trace emails for a living. So that's how I know a little bit about consumer reporting agencies. And it would be interesting, too. How come all the folks out there who are talking about being ex-CIA and all this kind of stuff like that, how come none of these guys ever talk about this, Never brought that up to you. That has to come from me. Mr. Magoo, who doesn't know what he's doing. Everybody knows me. I'm the most confused guy in the world. Hey, how about this, man? Bernie Sanders says that he wants prisoners to vote, right? And I have here in my notes, it says, do a Bernie Sanders impersonation, but I'm not up for it tonight. I'm going to pass on that one. But let me ask you a question. Would it, and all the Republicans are in an uproar over this and making fun of them. Oh, what about the Boston bomber? Should they be allowed to vote? Right? But wouldn't you think that they would be the ones most in favor of this? Since, first of all, Trump will be able to vote after he gets arrested, right? Manafort will be able to vote. He'll vote for Trump. Roger Stone will be able to vote. Papadopoulos, all these guys will be able to vote now, and they'll all vote for Trump. He's losing all these votes of these people from his cabinet and his administration that are in the clink, right? Now, I do support this. People have this idea that just because you're in jail or in prison that you're a criminal. It's not everyone, sometimes people just, circumstances, you get in a fight, and it turns out, you get into a bad fight, with the serious injuries, and the other person gets serious injuries, and you wind up in jail over this, There's a woman here in Las Vegas just recently, okay? She was the mother-in-law, and she shot her son-in-law, who was she had custody of his baby, and I guess it was maybe it wasn't a son-in-law. It might have been her daughter's baby daddy or whatever. And she had custody of the grandchild, and he was over there for a visit, and she shot him in her home. Okay, and I know a little bit about the background of this story here, and she thought, well, I have every right. It's in my home. This is my castle, and he was threatening me or whatever, and I shot him, killed him. And people think you can do that. People, you see people arguing on the internet and says, well, if you come to my house, I've got a 45 and I'll blow your head off, and I could do that. You can't just shoot somebody for knocking on your door and then saying, hey, man, I want to talk to you, or hey, I'm going to punch you in the nose, and you can't just shoot them and kill them. You wind up getting arrested for that. Okay? And so there's a lot of people who have never committed a crime in their whole life who wind up in jail or wind up in prison. Okay? So, and why shouldn't people have the right to vote? Especially if you're in jail or prison over marijuana charges or some of these, what they call, ever since Roger Stone got arrested, they call it these process crimes, foolish crimes that people get involved in, that they get caught up in. DUIs, stuff like that, DUI accidents, vehicular manslaughter cases. You have a car accident and somebody dies, and you just happen to be over the legal limit or something like that. These kind of arrests, these kind of convictions, where domestic violence, where you get into a fight with your cousin, and you wind up in jail over it. You get into a fight with your dad or your brother, and you wind up in jail over it. And then 6 months later, maybe you get into a fight 1 week, you get arrested with your cousin. 2 years later, you get into a fight with your brother, and now you're facing 7 years, in jail because it's your second domestic violence. Okay, these aren't people that are criminals. These are people who get up and go to work every day. Many of the people, okay, that I come into contact with, who get a beef with the cops and get arrested and plead guilty. Okay, maybe they don't go to jail over it, but they plead guilty, even because they got to go to work the next day. They can't miss work, so they get caught with a drug charge or something like that, and they plead guilty, and then you see them. Maybe they miss Monday at work, and you say, "Oh, I wonder what happened to so and so." They come in Tuesday. They don't say to you, "Hey, I spent the whole weekend in jail, because I got busted." They don't say that. They say, "Oh yeah, I had to take my aunt to the hospital," or I got sick or something like that, or I had a flat, my car broke down, I had to take my car to the shop, I had a doctor's appointment. They make something up. And so you don't know that your friend, your coworker at work that you trust every day, you leave your wallet on your desk. He doesn't steal your wallet, but the guy got arrested, okay, and had to plead guilty to get out of jail to feed his family, to go to work. So that guy shouldn't have the right to vote, right? You know him, you go to church with him, you sit next to him in the pew at church. You have no idea, because I especially here in Vegas, I'm involved in a lot of different churches. I've gone to different churches. I know a lot of people from churches, who still have my business card, would contact me. Ed, my husband just got arrested. You have to come down and help us out. We don't know what to do. We need a lawyer. Who do we call? That kind of stuff. We need to bail him out. How do we do that, Ed? What do we do? How do we pick him up? What do we do? What's the procedure? None of these people should be allowed to vote. They should all have the right to vote taken away from them. We're all human beings walking around the face of this earth. And rather than tear each other down or looking at someone and say, well, I'm better than you because I've never been caught. I've never been arrested. I've never been convicted. And you're a bad person. You're a criminal and I'm a good person. We're all, and maybe, if more people who have a conviction or sitting in jail right now, for some lame charge, because 25% of our population is sitting in a jail or is sitting in prison right now. And if they had the right to vote, maybe some more reasonable politicians, and we'd have some more reasonable laws, and we'd have less people sitting in jail for I hate this because people say for non-violent offenses, but a lot of people just have one violent incident in their life. I've had several violent incidences in my life, and I can't even say several. I've had many violent incidences in my life that I've never been arrested for. I've never been convicted for. I had a couple that I did get arrested for, and a couple I was guilty of sin. Man, I got away with it, and I got off. that makes me better than somebody else who couldn't afford a good lawyer and wasn't smart enough to keep your mouth shut when you get arrested. You know what I mean? There's a confessing to everything. Oh no, let me explain to you what happened here, man. You know, as you're drunk and you're trying to talk your way out of it. You know, keep your mouth shut. I mean, stay out of trouble. That's one thing. But and these crimes. I'm going to be interviewing this woman who's works in the legal profession, immigration law. And we're going to be talking about this whole situation with immigrants coming here looking for asylum and stuff like that. And we're going to dispel a lot of the myths and the rumors and stuff like that. But if you got a guy, who lives next door to you, I'm sure in my apartment complex here, right, there's hundreds of units. I'm sure there's at least 25 people here that are in this country beyond their visa or in this country without the right paperwork and documentation and stuff like that. It's paperwork. But they get up, they go to work. They're my neighbor. If they need a jump their car, I'm going to jump their car. That person shouldn't be allowed to vote. One of the big sweeps they did recently was a bunch of illegal immigrants, as they call them. They were working at 7-Elevens across the country. When you go into the 7-Eleven and there's a guy giving you your Slurpee or making change for the gasoline you just purchased, you're worried about that guy, that he should be in jail? He shouldn't have the right to vote? The guy you see every morning, you buy your coffee at 7-Eleven, he shouldn't have the right to vote? Why? Explain that to me. I'm Mr. Magoo. I don't understand these things. Let me read a couple quick ads here because I've been kind of slacking on one of my sponsors here, this almightygold.com. Let's see here. Almightygold.com. Get your gold in affordable quantities. 1 gram, 2.5 grams, 5 grams. No minimum purchase required. Almightygold.com. Now, why save in paper when you can save in gold? Almighty Gold understands it's difficult to afford gold in large quantities. Nobody can afford an ounce of gold. This is why Almighty Gold has introduced to you the Carat Bars, a reliable company where you can buy gold in minor quantities as little as 1/10 of a gram. That's like $6. Each gold bar is inset in this Carat Bar frame, which is of standard credit card size and covered by a safety laminate, imprinted with a DNA for counterfeit protection, and provided with black light authenticity signature on the front. Almighty Gold. They have a cryptocurrency backed in gold, and you can become an affiliate of almightygold.com and make a commission for any gold purchased from your affiliate link. You contact us at almightygold.com. Almightygold.com. Gold. Okay, I'm going to re-record that ad for me and put that up because there's another loyal sponsor that's helping out our show that have been very patient with me. And I'm going to give them at least a good couple of free weeks thrown in for being so patient with me recording that ad. There's been some audio problems with the ad and stuff like that. I'm stumbling and mumbling through it. If you like today's show, check out OppermanReport.com. We are no longer on YouTube. We are no longer... attention, Kmart shoppers. We are no longer on YouTube. You got to go to Spreaker.com, Spreaker.com. That's where you find the show. You go there. If you sign in with your Facebook, it's free. You sign up for free. There's no charge. There's no expense. This is different from the member section. And when you put your email address in there, you get an email every time a live show comes on. So you get notified that there's a show coming on at Spreaker.com. So now if you want to become a member, I just sent out an email asking for members. You go to OppermanReport.com. And, I sent out, because we updated the MailChimp list, we sent out 2,000 emails, okay? Now, that means, though, that's 2,000 people. You know how I got those email addresses? Because you emailed me, okay? Well, I got your email because you sent me an email, Mr. Magoo, advising me or helping me out with that piano or that window washer platform there, okay? You emailed me. 2,000 people emailed me, and it's way more than 2,000 too, because a lot of people unsubscribe, So out of those 2,000 people, man, because I don't have 2,000 members, right? 2,000 people email me with questions or suggestions or comments or insults or something like that, right? And all I'm asking is, man, if 10% of those 2,000 people were to become a monthly member for $6 a month, man, okay, that would cover all the expenses and all the problems we have here, okay? If you'd get such great content, you'd get more of my focus, more of my concentration. You thought enough of me to email me with a question or a comment. I was important enough to do that. And now when I come to you and I'm asking for $6 to cover a whole month where you get 200 additional shows, documents, videos, pictures, all kinds of stuff in there, okay? Commentary shows. Oh, there's tons of stuff in there, man. Hundreds of hours of content for $6. Now, I'm not even talking about, because, all the people who listen on Spreaker and iHeart and iTunes and YouTube and KYAH 540 AM and on iHeart and IPM Nation and People's Internet Radio and Public Streaming Network or Ocelli.com. Oh, shit. Did I screw up over here? I did, man. I think I fucked up. Oh, no, good. Speaking of Ocelli, I thought I was overplaying his on his station. I think I might have screwed that up. Anyway, guys, so we're asking for your support, and you can contact me directly at oppermanreport@gmail.com, and I'll give you 13 months for $65. That's a discount. So you can email me directly, oppermanreport@gmail.com. You get 13 months for $65. Otherwise, you go to, and by the way, I would only need 1% of the 2,000. A 1% response rate on a mailer is not a big deal. But I know a lot of the people I mail to are already members, So if you can just help out the show and keep us at that. I'm trying to get my kid into college here. I'm going to be making huge sacrifices to this, and I don't want it to affect the show too much. But it could, man. So, we really need your support, okay? So thank you so much. Thank you, again, Julian Assange, for being a sellout and a disinfo agent. Okay? And Mark Ebner, I'm going to track you down, Mark. If you're in town, Mark Ebner, hear me, Ebner? I'm going to be down there at the Fremont Street Experience right now in another 30 minutes. I'm looking for you. Good night.
Live PD first. More Live PD Rewind.
The white F-350 flatbed.
We are live in Greene County, Missouri, where deputies are tracking a vehicle they suspect may be stolen.
2312, you get the plate. 3 Mary Paul 441. Dispatch copy straight. 23, I'm on Chestnut. I'm approaching bypass from the west. Clear, 223. White, gray, black point 3 times. He can be failing to yield. Will be southbound on bypass. First star chase tag failed. Southbound on bypass, star chase failed. Speed 60. Light to medium traffic. 60 miles an hour, light to medium traffic. RB southbound from Mount Vernon. Southbound from Mount Vernon. Southbound, still medium traffic, speeds 90 miles an hour. Medium traffic, 90 miles an hour, southbound. Do you want troops assistance or search during the area? My second shot was successful on star chase. I'm backing off. 3 times. Do you want me to try to stop the hit? Affirmative. It's still southbound, approaching Sunshine. It's in the slow lane, shoulder lane.
They've got a vehicle tracking system now on that vehicle. I am Dan Abrams, and this is our control center, A&E Network headquarters in New York City. We are live at the Greene County Sheriff's Office and 7 other departments around the country. This is Live PD.
I'm just trying to go home.
You got a gash in your head, you okay?
I'm trying to go home.
Okay. Hang tight.
I'm just trying to go home.